Internet outages shouldn't matter in a local smart home. At least that's what I thought. When my ISP went down recently, I figured everything would keep working normally. After all, I built this smart home around local control. But after a few hours without internet, I started wondering how much of my smart home actually depended on the cloud. And what I discovered surprised me. Most of my smart home kept working just fine, but the features I rely on the most when I'm away from home disappeared almost immediately. So today, I'm unplugging the internet completely and finding out what actually survives when a smart home loses its connection to the outside world, and whether a backup network connection can help keep critical functions going. Hey, I'm Robert, and Oconee Smart Homes exists to make real homes more convenient, accessible, and safe with smart home technology. We serve real customers right here in Oconee County, Georgia, but this channel is for anyone who wants to make a simpler, smarter home. Thanks to Yacht Club for partnering with me on today's video. Their mobile connectivity solutions represent a key component of a resilient smart home infrastructure. More on that later. To make this realistic, I'm just disconnecting the internet connection into the house. I'm not disabling my Wi-Fi as the LAN needs to stay up. This is what occurs during an ISP outage. The local network is still there, you just can't browse the web. And the question is whether my smart home can survive it. So let's pull the plug. Good news, my local smart home passed the test. So I went device by device testing lights, switches, sensors, automations, Home Assistant, HomeKit, Matter, Thread, everything I could think of. To my surprise, almost all of it kept working perfectly. But as I worked through my scorecard, I realized there were really only 3 categories that struggled: cameras, voice assistants, and remote access. The camera results depended heavily on the camera itself and the recording method. Cameras that rely entirely on cloud services became far less useful. My few Ring cameras, which are cloud only, were dead in the water. Even Apple's HomeKit Secure Video relies on cloud recording, but cameras recording locally kept doing their job. My Real-Link cameras continued recording to local storage on the SD card in the NAS without missing a beat. Voice assistants didn't fare much better. We use both Alexa and Siri throughout our house. Without internet, our voice-controlled smart home suddenly got a lot quieter. Can you turn on the kitchen lights?
Sorry, something went wrong.
Okay. Hey Siri, turn off the lights.
One sec, still working. I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check the Home app.
But the category that really got my attention was remote access. When you're sitting at home, an internet outage is mostly an inconvenience. But when you're away from home, the situation changes completely. No remote access means no checking cameras, no notifications, no knowing when my dog sitter has actually showed up. A few years ago, we were out of town while some work was being done in the house. Someone tripped a circuit breaker and our freezer lost power. If it hadn't been for a smart home notification, we might not have known for days. And it turns out location-based automations are one of the most vulnerable during an internet outage. Your phone still knows exactly where you are. It can tell when you've left work, when you're arriving home, or when you've crossed that specific geofence. The problem is that your phone has to communicate that information back to your house. And if your home's internet connection is down, that message may never arrive. We spend thousands of dollars on smart devices, sensors, cameras, building automations, but all of that ultimately depends on one internet connection. And if that connection goes down, some of the most valuable features disappear with it. That got me wondering, what if my smart home didn't even notice the outage? What if I could lose my primary internet connection and still keep remote access, notifications, cameras, and monitoring online? The good news is that modern networking equipment has gotten much better at handling failover situations like this. Many routers and mesh systems now support automatic failover. If your primary internet connection goes down, your router can automatically switch to a backup connection. To test this idea, I've been running a cellular backup connection for the last month using an Yacht Club triple play SIM and hotspot. Most of the time, my normal internet connection does all the work. But if that connection disappears, the cellular connection is ready to take over automatically. Now let's repeat the original test. Internet disconnected, only this time the backup connection is active. Let's see what happens. Hello? Can you turn on the kitchen lights? Can you turn on the bookcase lights? Now we're gonna see with my phone off the network, as if I'm remote, I'm not here. Will I get a notification when somebody comes to my door? There it is. Okay. The first test showed what happens when the internet disappears completely. The second test shows what happens when your smart home's network has a backup plan. One thing that stood out to me about this setup is the triple play feature. Instead of being locked into a single carrier, it can work across AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. The system can connect using whichever network provides the best available service at that time. That's especially useful for a backup internet service because reliability is the entire point. If your primary internet fails, you don't want your backup failing too. One question I had going into this was whether a dedicated service like this makes sense as compared to just using a hotspot from your main carrier. And for some people, a carrier hotspot may be all that they need. But backup internet is a little different than everyday internet. For a backup connection, I'm not trying to stream 4K movies or replace my home ISP indefinitely. I just need enough connectivity to keep my cameras online, receive notifications, and check in on my smart home remotely until my primary internet comes back. The other thing I found interesting is the pricing model. A lot of backup internet solutions involve paying for an additional monthly cell line that may sit unused most of the year. Yacht Club offers prepaid data plans that can remain active for long periods of time, which can be a much better fit for a backup solution. So over the last month, I've been carrying this thing around with me pretty much everywhere, testing it in places where I know coverage can be a little bit more challenging. My thinking was simple. If it works in all of these places, it can probably keep my smart home connected during an outage. One thing worth mentioning is that I don't view this as a replacement for my home internet or my primary phone service. For me, this is more like insurance. The goal isn't maximum speed, it's maintaining connectivity when the primary connection fails. It's also worth noting that the Yacht Club SIM itself supports 5G networks, but the UFi hotspot that I've been testing is a 4G LTE device. So the speeds you're seeing here in my tests are a reflection of the hotspot hardware and not the cell service itself. And for the kinds of things that most smart homes need, the bandwidth requirements are actually pretty modest. For this setup, I'm using my Eero's built-in internet backup feature. When the primary connection disappears, Eero automatically switches over to the hotspot connection. It plugs in through USB and creates its own Wi-Fi network that the Eero can connect to. And I can log into the hotspot locally to view signal strength, carrier status, usage information, and other device settings like a local firewall. There's also an app for monitoring usage and managing the account. Yacht Club offers physical SIMs, eSIMs, hotspots, and several data plan options that makes it useful for backup internet, security systems, rural cameras, job sites, mowers, RVs, and other devices that need mobile connectivity. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from building out smart homes is that local control and internet independence aren't exactly the same thing. Going into this test, I expected to find lots of hidden internet dependencies. Instead, I found my smart home was far more resilient than I expected. But there are still plenty of features that depend on having some path to the outside world. Those are often the features we care about the most when we're not home. So if you've spent time building out a reliable smart home, it might be worth thinking about the reliability of the network itself. Because sometimes the smartest upgrade isn't another device, it's making sure the foundation you already have stays connected when it matters most. If you've ever had an internet outage, break something unexpectedly in your smart home, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoy hands-on smart home content or know somebody who does, subscribe, share this video, and come back for more. God bless you. I'll see you next time.